This is a hands-on guide for the Ensoniq EPS 16 Plus hardware sampler. This video is not intended to be a manual or go through all the aspects of the sampler. This video is meant to give you the most important knowledge, so you can start using the sampler from knowing nothing about it. For deeper knowledge, there are other sources. This video is only meant to help you spread your wings. The flying you gotta do on your own. The EPS 16 Plus is a hardware sampler from the early 90s by American Ensoniq. The EPS 16 Plus is regarded by many as one of the best sounding samplers of all time. It has more character than its more famous successor, the ASR10. It has 16 bits resolution and have 1 megabyte memory as standard, but can be expanded to 2 megabytes. It's multitimbral and have a polyphony to up to 20 voices. Here are the 10 most important things you need to know about the Ensoniq EPS 16 Plus to be able to operate it. How to load a floppy disk. Press Load, Instrument, then use the up and down arrows to scroll through the available instrument files on the disk. Press Yes, and then select one of the 8 instrument locations you want to load the instrument to. To load an additional instrument from the floppy, do the same as before and select a different instrument location. To play the loaded instrument, you need to select the sound location by pressing its button. If you want to delete a loaded instrument, hold the corresponding instrument location button and simultaneously press the No button. How to sample. Press the Sample button on the right. Press the desired instrument location button, press Yes, and start playing the source you want to sample from. Now you are sampling. Press Yes when you're done sampling. After a bit of processing, the EPS 16 Plus asks you to press the root key on your keyboard. If the sampled material was D4, press D4 on the Ensoniq keyboard. If you don't know the pitch of the material, put the root anywhere you want. I almost always put my sounds in the middle, at C3. How to make multi-samples. Making an instrument using more than one sample is easy. You sample exactly as you normally would do, but place the sample on a different root key in the same instrument. That's it. How to normalize a sample. To get the maximum volume out of a sound you have sampled, you may need to normalize it. Press Command, then button 6 on the numpad for Amp. Select Normalize Gain, press Yes. How to change the filter. The filter in the EPS 16 Plus can be set to a couple of different flavors, including low pass, high pass, and a combination of both. There is no resonance in the filter. You can get Moog-like filters with resonance by using one of the Waveboy effect expansion discs, but more about those in the deeper knowledge section. To change the filter settings, press Edit and numpad 5. filter. The first page is where you set the filter modes. If you just want to use a nice low-pass filter, you can use what's pre-selected. Press the right arrow to set the cutoff. As you can see, there are two values here. That's because there are two filters. But that's for the advanced sound heads, so we'll be happy to just use the first, which sounds really nice. I will now show you how to make a simple filter sweep with the filter envelope. First, set the filter 1 to 0. Move with the right arrow key until you get to the next page, where you can set the amount of envelope modulation. Set ENV to F1 to something like 80. Now I'll show you how to make a filter sweep. How to change the filter envelope. Press Edit, then Numpad 2, Envelope 2. The Ensoniq has pre-made envelopes for different situations. Use the up arrow to select Ramp Up. Now you have a nice filter swell. By pressing the right arrow key, you get access to all the parameters of the envelopes. While not complex, this is way more sophisticated than just normal ADSR envelope. So I'm not going to go into them as this is not a manual, but now you know where they are. How to select effects and how to edit them. As you might have noticed, everything you've done so far have a nice sounding reverb to it. The EPS 16 Plus comes with a built-in effect unit that sounds absolutely gorgeous, even by today's standard. To select the effects, press Effect on the right side of the unit, then scroll between the effect programs with the up and down arrows. To edit a selected effect, press Edit, then Effects on the left side of the display. Again, we are presented with pre-made presets that can be used. If you want to edit specific parameters, press the right arrow to step through the pages. There are lots of parameters in there, and you can make pretty wild stuff. How to save sounds. Press Command, Instrument, then select Save Instrument by pressing Yes. Name your instrument, press Yes. This might take a while. Write a haiku while you wait. Vintage buttons click, capturing sounds from the world. Nostalgic beats flow. You can sequence the EPS 16 Plus multi-timbrally via MIDI. First, press Edit, then System MIDI. Now scroll until you get to the page that says MIDI in mode. This should be set to multi. Now your unit is set to be working multi-timbrally. Now you can also set each and every instrument to play on different MIDI channels. Select the instrument you want to set the MIDI channel of. Press Edit, then Track. Scroll until you get to the page Multi in MIDI, Chan. Set this to the MIDI channel you desire. How to create an operating system disk. To be able to use the Ensoniq, it needs to first load the operating system from a floppy disk or SCSI. If you don't have an operating system disk, you won't be able to use the sampler. That's why it's always a good idea to have a spare OS disk around if the one that you're using gets lost or stops working. Insert the disk you want to create a new OS disk on. Press Command, then System MIDI. Select Format Floppy Disk. You can give the floppy disk a label if you want to. It's not very important these days, so I usually go with a pre-made label. But if you're saving really large samples, you might need more than one floppy. Then different labels are very important. Press yes to erase and format disk. When done, insert the old OS disk. Press the right arrow and select Copy OS to disk. It will probably tell you that it needs to clean out the internal memory. If you are okay with getting all the current things in the sampler memory wiped out, press yes. Insert Master OS disk, press yes. Wait. Insert Formatted disk, swap disks, press yes, wait, and you're done. Deeper knowledge. Trick 1. The old school pitch trick. As memory was really expensive back in the day, trying to make most of the limited memory you had gave birth to many interesting workarounds. The most famous trick was to record things 1 or even 2 octaves higher, then pitch it down. As the samples play back slower in lower octaves, it creates the illusion of having longer samples than you actually have. The side effect is that some of the high-end sheen fidelity gets lost. But combine this with the next tip for a very nice effect. Trick 2. Lo-fi sampling rate. In the sampling page, to change the sampling rate, press the right arrow before you press yes to start the sampling. Now select the sampling rate with the up and down arrows. My personal favorite rate is around 10-15 kHz. Trick number 3. Input volume. To change the input level, you have to adjust that at the source of what you're recording from. The EPS 16 Plus does not have an input adjustment knob, but it informs you of clipping in the display when sampling. Don't be afraid to record sounds with a low volume or too loud. Sampling too low, then normalize it, actually emulates a sampler with lower bit rates. And slamming the inputs with a too loud signal can sometimes distort the sound in a cool way. Trick number 4. Synthesized Lo-fi. While the function Synthesized Loop was originally meant to be an aid for creating loops with sounds where you cannot find a proper loop point, today it's a fun function to scramble a sample and add a layer of randomness to it. Press Command numpad 8 Wave, then scroll to Synthesized Loop. Experiment. Have fun. Trick number 5. Resonant Filters. The EPS doesn't have resonant filters, but it is possible to load completely new effects externally. These new effects come on discs and are often expensive. One of those is the Waveboy Res filter. You can get it at Sample Zone for the delicate price of $40. But check out their other effects too. Cool stuff, but not cheap. Temperamental hardware. As always, keep in mind that the Ensoniq EPS 16 Plus is built on ancient technology. You won't find USB on it, it has MIDI. For you to use it, you need to connect it with MIDI. If you want to save sounds, you need the right kind of floppy disks. Old technology can be very temperamental. Unless your unit have been properly serviced, you might find it being unstable. Mine often crashes if it's been sitting unused for a day or two. Turn it on and leave it on for a few minutes. That gives it time to properly wake up. If you're not used to be using old gear like this, it will most likely drive you mad. You can't hook it up to USB and drag a bunch of samples to it. Personally, I don't bother with floppies. I record what I want directly to the computer. Floppies are just a disaster waiting to happen. If you really want to save your stuff on the EPS, get SCSI and an external SD card reader. I bought mine from Sample Zone. It's costly, but works great. Just print to disk. Personally, I wouldn't bother with even sequencing it multitimbrally via MIDI. I love the sound of the EPS 16 Plus, but I trust it less than a Hungarian car salesman. I use it to create cool sounds, record them to the computer, and then I turn off the unit when I'm done. Thank you for listening. I hope you will have fun with your Ensoniq EPS 16 Plus. It's a remarkable instrument.